What a crazy year this has been for investors, for people working, and apparently now there's a new trend going around called quit talks, where people are quitting their jobs and making TikTok videos of themselves right before they quit in style. And by style, I mean annoying everyone and never getting hired again. But seriously, according to the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, roughly 4.27 million people quit their jobs in May alone. In fact, roughly 20%, or 1 out of every 5 people, are saying that they plan to quit their jobs sometime this year. The Global Workforce Hopes and Fears surveyed more than 52,000 people across 44 different countries, and the number one reason people are saying they're quitting their jobs is because of people making quit talks. Stop it, Karen. No one cares. Now, it's because of income-related reasons, which is obviously being squeezed thanks to inflation, which so far this year has been setting month-over-month consistent 40-year record highs since the year 1981. It's pretty crazy. And that's why 71% of the people surveyed are saying that income is why they're quitting. And it's not just regular people, it's also upper-level management, which is obviously going to affect the odds of a recession. But the bad news gets worse, because the next time we get an inflation report, which remember is measured by something called the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which you can find on the BLS.gov website, is actually going to come out this week on Wednesday. And when it does, economists are telling us that inflation is not going to slow down and it's going to be even worse. For example, the last CPI report we got was for May, and that CPI report was at 8.6% inflation. Now, this Wednesday, our next CPI report will be for the month of June, and economists are predicting that CPI report will be closer to 8.8%. And that's mostly thanks to expensive petroleum. And that's because even though gas prices have slightly come down to roughly $100 a barrel, if you remember back in June, oil was over $120 a barrel. So the CPI reading for June will probably be higher like economists expect. And that's also why the I-series bonds from the government are now going to yield 9.62% until the end of October. So in today's video, I want to talk about what's going to happen this week that will affect the markets, but most importantly, I want to talk about arguably one of the biggest events in all of Bitcoin's history, which is about to happen next month, which is the release of the Mt. Gox Bitcoins. About 137,000 Bitcoins worth roughly $3 billion are about to hit the markets as early as next month in August. And when that happens, I want to talk about how low Bitcoin's price could potentially go. So all of that and more in today's video on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody on Disney Channel, coming up next. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the data. There's gonna be a ton of data in this video, so first we'll start with the market, then we'll talk about our burning portfolios, and then we'll talk about crypto. So normally, I don't try to make bets, I don't try to time the market, but I will make a bet for this week. If on Wednesday, when we get the CPI report, if it comes in at 8.6%, I think the market will end up green on Wednesday. And that's because it's gonna give investors hope that maybe we've seen the worst of inflation, right? Now it's gonna come back down. Now, if the CPI report comes in lower than 8.6%, the market on Wednesday will end up even more green because it's going to give investors even more hope that we've seen the worst of it. But if the CPI inflation data comes in higher than 8.6%, like economists expect for it to, I think the market on Wednesday will end up in the red. And that's because investors do not like inflation. And the reason they don't like inflation is because their input prices, or the cost to make stuff, goes up, which of course they pass on to us, the consumers, but then later they have to pay their employees more to make up for it, so it kind of balances out. But the point is, when companies' profit margins go down, their share prices fall as well. Now, later, toward the end of this month, I'm betting the stock market will come back up. And that's because when we get a high reading to the CPI, the inflation report, which I think we will, that gives more reason to Papa Jerome Powell to increase the federal fund rate at the next FOMC meeting come July 26th, 27th. So if the central bank increases the federal fund rate by 0.75% or more, which the stock market placed the odds at 96.3% chance of happening, that's when then that day, I think the market will be up. And that's because the stock market wants to see the Fed fight inflation, which normally is not the case. Normally, the stock market wants to see low interest rates, but because we have high inflation and low consumer confidence, that's what investors want to see, so that's my bet. But Andrei, if you know all this and you're so smart, then why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Because reason number one, I don't know for sure. Reason number two, because stocks will only move 1 to 2% on that day, and it's not worth me moving my whole portfolio for an extra couple of percentage points. And reason number three, because I dollar cost average into the same old stock because I don't think I'm smart enough to outsmart the market. But the big picture things are kind of easy to see and they're fun to bet on. So that's this week's macroeconomics of what's happening to the stock market. Now let's talk about what's happening with Bitcoin because it's about to have one of its biggest events in its entire history. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. All right, so the name of the game right now is not to compare how much money you've made investing, but how much money you didn't lose. And yet, in 2021, Americans lost $6.9 billion thanks to internet crimes, far outpacing home burglaries. And yet, we continue to invest our money into physical protection like security cameras and smart doorbells, leaving ourselves completely vulnerable to digital crimes. So now more than ever, as we enter into a potential recession, we have to protect ourselves. And I think I found the solution. Aura. Aura is an all-in-one protection service that proactively keeps you and your family safe. And with this one service, you get everything from identity theft protection, password management, financial fraud detection. It's also a VPN service that allows you to safely and privately browse the web. They also check the dark web for anything that might expose your emails, your passwords, and your social security numbers. They also monitor all 3 credit bureaus to make sure no one's trying to access your credit to get a loan in your name. They can instantly lock your Experian credit file. They monitor your credit card transactions, and they have 24/7 US-based customer support. And they do all of this in one place. It's pretty crazy. I use them myself and they are awesome. And get this, they give you a $1 million identity theft insurance with every single plan. So if you use my link down below in the description of this video, you'll be able to check for free to see if your data has already been part of a data breach. And if you like their service, you can try them out for free using my link down below. So go check them out. Thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now let's get back to it. All right, so this is a crazy story. Roughly 137,890 Bitcoins, worth about $3 billion, are about to potentially flood the market and have a huge impact on Bitcoin's prices. Special thanks to Miles, whom you can find on Twitter, for putting together this story. Now, if you're not an OG Bitcoiner, you might have never heard of this story, so let's jump into a time machine and time travel back to the year 2006. This is way before social media was a thing, and this is back when a little online forum was being created called Mt. Gox for a game called Magic the Gathering. Now, fast forward 4 years later to the year 2010, and there were just whispers on the internet about this new currency of the internet called Bitcoin. And this is when I first heard about Bitcoin and I wanted to buy in, but I didn't know how because there wasn't a way. There were no exchanges, you had to mine it and keep it on a paper wallet, which was way too complicated for 19-year-old Andrei to figure out, so I never did. Now, the founder of this Magic the Gathering website, Jed McCaleb, also became interested in Bitcoin, and he converted his website to what became Mt. Gox, which was the world's first crypto exchange. Now, he later sold that website to a man named Mark Karpelès, but at the time, Bitcoin was trading for only $1. Fast forward to 3 short years later, in 2013, Bitcoin hit a peak of $1,000. Fast forward 1 year again to 2014, and Mt. Gox became the world's largest crypto exchange, handling 70% of all Bitcoin transactions. Could you imagine a website that was designed for man-children like me, for Magic the Gathering, just became the world's largest crypto bank? So of course, something happened. On February 7th, 2014, Mt. Gox froze all of their withdrawals. And the reason they gave was because they found a bug in Bitcoin's code called transaction malleability. Now, to explain simply what that means, by way of sophisticated attack, if the attacker can modify what's called the withdrawal hash, which is the thing that keeps track of how much money someone has on the exchange, they can make it look as though their withdrawal failed, which allows them to email customer service and tell them, hey, I didn't get the money. Can you send the withdrawal again? And that allows the attacker to withdraw all their money twice. Well, it turns out the reason this attack was made possible is because Mt. Gox's private key was actually unencrypted and it was stolen back in 2011, which is why to this day people believe that it was an inside job. So for years, this scam was happening a la casino style with double withdrawals. Now by the time Mt. Gox realized all this, it was too late and they had already lost 850,000 bitcoins, which by today's market value would be worth $18.1 billion, which is about 4% of Bitcoin's entire supply. So by February 28th, 2014, Mt. Gox filed for bankruptcy, owing over $60 million to their customers. So for 8 long years, this has been an ongoing legal battle between its customers and Mt. Gox to get their money back. And not in a million years did anyone ever expect that people would get some of their money back until now. On November 16th, 2021, the courts put together a rehabilitation plan to start paying people back, kind of like the stuff that Voyager is going through right now. Well, as of July 6th, just last week, they put together a statement saying that they are finally getting ready to start paying people back, which is pretty amazing. So as of right now, their balance sheet reads 137,890 bitcoins worth roughly $3 billion. And people will be able to accept them as payment in either US dollars or bitcoins as early as next month in August. I never thought in a million years anything like this would happen. That's something that happened 8 years ago. People are finally getting some of their money back, but here we are. So the question is, once people get all this money back, if they start selling it, how will this affect Bitcoin's price? So let's assume the worst case scenario. So let's just assume that everyone who will get their Bitcoin in August will all of a sudden want to start selling it at the exact same time. What would happen to Bitcoin's price? I just want to say that it's really hard to calculate that because I don't know how many people will start buying it once the price starts dropping, but I have something to compare with. So here's the context. The Luna Foundation Guard, the LFG, on May 7th, they tweeted that they had roughly 80,000 bitcoins in their reserves. But by May 16th, they tweeted they only had 313 bitcoins left. So for easy math, let's just say they sold 80,000 bitcoins in the span of just 1 week. So let's compare that data. Now, I just want to say that they probably started selling a little bit before they tweeted. So let's take a look at a rough time period around that time to compare. You can see right here is where it starts on May 4th when Bitcoin was $39,600. And then you see this really sharp drop to $28,900 by May 12th, which I think is exactly where the Luna Foundation Guard started selling their Bitcoin. Now for easy math, that's a price drop of roughly $10,000 in the span of 1 week. But that was with only 80,000 bitcoins sold, not 137,000 bitcoins. But then again, not all 137,000 will be sold. So the theoretical price drop will probably be from today's current market value of 20,000 back down to a low of potentially in the $10,000 range. Now that sounds terrifying, but let me give you my personal thoughts. I don't think Bitcoin will fall that far. And the reason is because number one, the people that have held their coins since 2014 in Mt. Gox have probably been following Bitcoin's boom and bust cycles. So they know that it doesn't make sense to sell Bitcoin now when the price is so low. They would rather wait. But arguably the second and more important reason is because these creditors, which are these people that are expecting their Bitcoin, have already sold off the rights to their settlements to companies like Fortress Investment Group. These are hedge funds that have purchased these settlements from people at a cash value that's highly discounted because at that time, it wasn't for sure that these people would get their settlement. So they purchased the rights to these settlements at a crazy discount. So the truth is that some of these Bitcoins could end up in the hands of big companies. Now, how many of those 137,000 have already been bought, I don't know. But the point is that by August, there's a solid chance that Bitcoin could fall substantially in value. And if you see that, now you know why. Now, personally, I'm still dollar cost averaging and investing in the markets, regardless of what's going on, but I'm crossing my fingers that I can get access to my Bitcoin from Voyager. So far, there have been no updates on that front, but if anything changes, I'll keep you posted. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Go grab up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin with this link right here. Go grab your free stocks, links are down below, and then go track them automatically with the spreadsheet link down below in my Patreon. Love you, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you back here on Monday and Friday, sometimes Wednesday. I'll see you soon, bye-bye.